Picture this. It's February 28th, 2018. A totally routine training flight over Estonia suddenly goes completely, terrifyingly wrong. We're talking about a cascade of failures so impossible, they left an entire Airbus A320 flying on its own, sparking just an absolutely desperate fight for survival. This is the unbelievable story of Smartlnx Estonia Flight 9001.
So those are the words you never want to hear in a cockpit. That's a trainee pilot on what's supposed to be a normal practice takeoff. He's pulling back on his control stick, trying to get the jet into the air, but nothing, absolutely nothing is happening. The instructor, this veteran with over 24,000 flight hours, he grabs his own controls, and that's when he realizes the horrifying truth. I mean, for a pilot, this is the ultimate nightmare. Their side sticks, the very thing that connects them to the aircraft, are as useless as a toy controller from a video game. They had no way to command the plane's pitch, no way to tell it to go up or to go down. They were basically just passengers in their own cockpit.
From there, the situation just spiraled into total chaos. Since they couldn't take off properly, the jet lost lift and slammed back down onto the runway. It hit with so much force that both engines were critically damaged. But the throttles were still at maximum, so the crippled plane just launched itself into the sky, pitching up violently with literally no one at the helm.
Then, all of a sudden, a voice from the jump seat. It's the safety pilot. He spots this message on the flight display, a message so incredibly rare that most pilots will go their entire careers without ever seeing it. And that right there, that was their one and only lifeline, the single last-ditch way they had to try and control this runaway aircraft.
So how on earth did a normal training day turn into this? I mean, it's just unbelievable. To really get it, we need to rewind the clock a few hours. The mission was super simple, really. Just give 4 brand new pilots their first real-world experience flying an Airbus A320. They were going to spend the day doing circuits, practicing touch-and-go landings, all under the watchful eye of their instructor, a safety pilot, and an inspector from the aviation authority. For these trainees, this day was supposed to be the crowning achievement of years and years of hard work. Okay, so to understand what went wrong, we need a quick little tech breakdown. The Airbus A320 is what's called a fly-by-wire aircraft. Basically, the pilot's inputs go to computers, and then the computers fly the plane. Pitch, that's the plane's up and down movement, is controlled by these computers called ELACs. Now, the key word here is redundancy. There isn't just one, there are 2 ELACs plus 2 more backup computers called SEECs. The whole system is designed so that if one fails, another just seamlessly takes over.
But throughout the first few hours of the training, this little gremlin just kept popping up in the system. After almost every single touch and go, a fault warning would show up in the cockpit. At the time, it just seemed like a minor, kind of annoying glitch on an otherwise smooth day.
And the procedure they followed was pretty straightforward. This ELAC 1 pitch fault message would appear. The crew would check the manual, which basically told them to, turn it off and on again. So they'd reset the computer, the fault would clear, and they'd just keep on training. This happened again and again.
And this is where the story goes from a simple glitch to a 1 in a billion catastrophe. Let's take a look at how the completely impossible actually became reality. I mean, this is the central question, right? The entire safety philosophy of this aircraft is designed to prevent this exact scenario. A single failure, that's routine. A double failure, incredibly rare. But a quadruple failure, knocking out all 4 pitch computers at once, that had never ever happened before on a commercial aircraft. This is a textbook example of what investigators call the Swiss cheese model of accidents. The idea is that for a disaster to happen, multiple small unrelated failures, or holes in the cheese, have to line up perfectly. And as you can see here, it wasn't one single thing. It was a non-standard pilot technique, a hidden mechanical flaw with some thick oil, a forgotten computer reset, a perfectly timed 1-second bounce on the runway, and a latent software bug. Any one of these things on its own would have been harmless. But together, they created the perfect storm.
And just look at how quickly the dominoes fell. At 15:04 and 55 seconds, the plane bounces. That 1-second bounce confuses the sensors and instantly knocks out the 2 backup ASEC computers. Just 15 seconds later, the instructor's trim technique, combined with that faulty switch, takes out ELAC 2. And remember ELAC 1? It was never reset from the last time, so it was already offline. In this span of just 16 seconds, every single pitch computer failed. They had lost everything.
And this, right here, this really illustrates the severity of their situation. They went from what's called normal law, where the plane is smart and protected by the computers, to mechanical backup. In this mode, the side stick does absolutely nothing for pitch. The plane can only be controlled up and down by manually spinning a small trim wheel and messing with the engine thrust. It's like trying to perform surgery with a sledgehammer. So, back in the cockpit, the crew was now faced with this monumental task: flying a burning, uncontrollable jet that was actively trying to crash.
After that impact on the runway, the plane just shot upwards at a terrifying rate, over 6,000 feet per minute. The instructor was frantically fighting to get the nose down, battling the plane's natural tendency to just climb and climb until it would stall and fall right out of the sky.
But that manual trim wheel, it's a really coarse instrument. He overcorrected, and that sent the 60-ton jet into this terrifying dive, plummeting towards the ground at over 7,000 feet per minute. The cockpit's warning system was just screaming, "Terrain, pull up!"
This was a straight-up battle against physics. The plane was in this wild, oscillating pattern that pilots call a phugoid. It's sort of a roller coaster motion where it trades altitude for speed and then speed for altitude, over and over. Through just sheer skill and feel, the instructor wrestled the jet out of its death dive with only 600 feet to spare. An absolutely incredible display of airmanship.
And just when they thought they finally had some measure of control, the next crisis hit. On their final approach back to the airport, the engines, which had been so severely damaged, began to fail. First, the right engine went. Then, less than a minute from the runway, the left one did too.
So now they had no thrust. Their only source of power was this tiny, wind-driven generator called the ram air turbine, which provides just enough juice to keep a few key instruments alive. They had zero room for error, one chance to land, and one chance only. The safety pilot, who was now in the co-pilot seat, was just calling out their airspeed as it bled away. 130, 120, 100 knots. I mean, that is perilously close to the stall speed, the point where the wings simply stop flying. The instructor had to stretch the glide as far as he possibly could without letting the plane just fall out of the sky.
Miraculously, they crash-landed just short of the runway, and everyone survived. But this incident, it sent shockwaves through the entire aviation industry. So let's look at what changed because of it.
Yeah, in the wake of this near disaster, some really permanent safety improvements were made. Airbus issued new procedures. If an ELAC fault happens more than once, that's it. The flight is over. Land the plane. They also fixed that software bug that was exposed by the bounce, and the airline itself, Smartlnx, they updated the rules to be much more cautious. The goal here is to make sure this exact chain of failures can never, ever happen again.
And this whole thing, it leaves us with a really fascinating thought. Our modern world is built on all these layers of automation and redundancy. But this flight is just a powerful reminder that sometimes, when all the perfect systems fail, survival can come down to the decades of experience, the skill, and the calm resolve of a single human being.